Update. Am I the a-hole for jumping out of the way when my niece and nephew tried to push me into the pool, resulting in them falling in? Original post. Happened today. My folks decided to host a barbecue because I guess that's what older people do. I declined because I really don't like my two sisters, their husbands, or their kids. Wife and I are child-free. Mom then pressured the wife, and long story short, we went. By the time we arrived, there were about 20 people there. My sisters and their husbands were already solidly buzzed, drunk really. My mom was spending 100% of her time trying to keep the nieces and nephews, ages 7 to 11, more or less under control. My dad had strategically retreated to the whirlpool part of the pool with a small cooler full of beers. Wife and I made small talk with miscellaneous people, ate food and had a frozen margarita. Sisters and brother-in-laws took turns criticizing us for being late, not being in our swimsuits, and screwing up the vibe. Whatever, typical suburban summer get-together. About 45 minutes in, two of the kids ran at one of the neighbor guests who was standing next to the pool and pushed her in. She was at the pool steps, stumbled in but didn't fall, so only got half wet. She was clearly very unhappy about it, but she didn't make a scene, just went over to where the parents were, grabbed their towels, dried herself off, and left. Sisters and brother-in-laws thought it was all great fun. A bit later, I was standing a few feet away from the pool chatting away with someone. I saw three of the kids running full tilt at me from the corner of my eye. Obviously, I was next. Not that it's terribly difficult to outwit young kids, but I just jumped out of their way at the last second, and all three of them ran straight into the pool at full speed. Most of the other guests, including my wife and me, started laughing. But their moms, who as I mentioned were pretty drunk, absolutely freaked out. Apparently, two of the kids couldn't swim, even though they were in swimsuits. Since I wasn't in swim gear, I stepped back from the pool and let other people fish the kids out. The kids were bawling their heads off like they'd lost a limb. At that point, all hell broke loose. The four drunk parents were yelling at everyone in general, and me in particular for nearly letting their kids drown. And also because two of the kids had been videoing the trick using their parents' iPhones, which were now at the bottom of the pool. One of my brother-in-laws got into the pool to try to retrieve the phones, but his BMI and BAC made that impossible. No one else volunteered to help, unsurprising, given that my sisters were still at everyone. I told my sisters it was their job to watch their kids, and that if anything had happened to them, it would have been their responsibility, not mine. There were pretty strong words on both sides. Then wife and I left after the other brother-in-law fell over and face-planted while yelling at us. Now they're saying I should have let the little knock me into the pool and have their fun and ruin my phone. So am I the a-hole? Side note, Dad, of course, never got out of the whirlpool. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. The kids fooled around and found out. If the parents' phones got ruined in the process, that's on them for not controlling their little hellions. I can see why you avoid family get-togethers. Hopefully next time, your wife won't allow herself to be guilted into making you go. That's probably the one positive thing that will come out of this. Wife is much more tolerant and forgiving than I am towards my siblings. But based on what she was saying on the way home, I think she's headed with them as well. Maybe you and your wife can just have your dad over to your place next time. I'd party with him 8 days a week. One of my brother-in-laws got into the pool to try to retrieve the phones, but his BMI and BAC made that impossible. Lol, not the a-hole. They're lucky the neighbor they pushed didn't get hurt. Those kids sound terrible. Yeah, it's an old pool, 8 feet deep at the deep end. He's a very well-fed guy. The phones were still at the bottom of the pool when we left, so I'm guessing they're toast. Was anyone getting a wide shot at least on a phone that isn't now toast? No, everybody at a party, other than me, /wife, /sisters, /their husbands, were people in their 60s or older. Not really the kind to be using their phones to video a backyard barbecue. I'd like to see a video as well though. Not the a-hole. I aspire to be the dad in the whirlpool when I grow up. That man knew exactly where to be, based on years of experience. Sometimes age does indeed bring wisdom, and apparently an awesome pool. Don't have to be a grandparent for this. I do it with my wife when she has the nieces and nephews over. I'll nope out real quick, but I usually offer to take a couple of my kids with me. Now for the update. First off, my folks tell me that my nieces and nephews are all good swimmers, and that they use the pool all the time. The 7-year-old is still a beginner, but he loves the water. My sister just said they couldn't swim, so I'd look bad. To be fair, none of the kids are allowed in the deep end, which is where they fell in. It was the two 10-year-olds and a 9-year-old who tried to push me into the pool. After we left, the party ended on a pretty sour note. My drunk brother-in-law, face planted while yelling at me, had to go to an urgent care place and get his face stitched up. He was too toasted to drive, so Dad took him. Dad was very not happy about this. Later that evening, my sisters started a group text and said some really nasty crap. Their husbands threw in a few comments as well. Wife and I blocked the 4 of them. My mom called me. She was pretty upset about what they said. She and Dad were in the chat, and I don't blame her. Because of the texts, my folks insisted my sisters/brother-in-laws come over the next day, Sunday, without their kids to get some things straight and lay down some ground rules. Mom's wording. The result was contrite, if an enthusiastic apology from the siblings via my mom's phone. I'm glad my wife was with me when they called, because her hard stares kept me from saying what I wanted to. I just told them thanks and that we felt no need to discuss it further. Since I thought things were settled, I unblocked them. That evening, I got a text from one of the brother-in-laws telling me the phones cost X dollars and asking me when I'd be paying for them. Huh? I replied never, took a screenshot of his text, and forwarded it to my folks with a note that we were done with this nonsense. We're going no contact with sisters and their spouses, and not to invite us to any more holidays or get-togethers if they'll be present. Then I blocked the sisters and their spouses again. At that point, crap hit the fan. Dad called them and ripped them a new one. Among other things, he told them the grandkids were not welcome at his place indefinitely. Since my mom regularly provides them free babysitting, that got them pretty rattled. He also banned them from using the vacation house and told them my wife and I actually own it, not he and mom. This completely freaked them out. Both of my sisters/families used the place a lot, including having their friends up for weekend getaways. This was very much out of character for my folks. They'd clearly had it. And for reference, I never wanted my sisters to know we owned a place. We bought it for my folks, as they'd always wanted a place in the mountains. Keeping the ownership quiet was just a way to avoid drama with my siblings. A couple of days later, my sisters and their husbands came to our place unannounced to apologize in person. We were out to dinner and they left a note. One sister also called me at work too, but I sent her the voicemail. We've decided being no contact is the best thing for the indefinite future and haven't interacted with them for the last 3+ weeks. Personally, I'm done. They can go pound sand. They're just really sorry now because their free babysitting is gone and you owned a cabin. We're sorry. Now tell mom and dad we apologized so they'll take the kids again. Don't forget the sweet vacay spot. They are only sorry because they are worried they no longer will have a vacation spot or free babysitting. I would keep them blocked and, as you said, tell them to go pound sand. It's been less than a month, but I have to say that blocking them has actually made our lives noticeably more peaceful. I hadn't realized how much ongoing low-level drama they create. It's not toxic. They're not bad people. They're just tiresome and petty. And I personally don't care about them using the weekend place. It's ours technically, but we bought it for my folks. They control it and decide who uses it when they aren't, though we pay for all the operating costs and taxes. One good thing about this blow-up is that we now know what we'll be doing with the property when my folks get older. I was prepared to take over managing it, allocating weekends, maintaining it and such, but now we know we'll just sell it. And if we want to go to the mountains, we'll just rent an Airbnb. I wonder if this has been the excuse your parents have needed to also get some rest from them also? You're their sibling, so I can just imagine how much more drama and stress they bring to your parents' life. I wonder if this was the perfect way to put the boundaries of no babysitting anymore and to not use the home you got your parents as their fun getaway. Seems like your siblings took advantage of your parents' generosity. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing my sister and her children out in front of all the guests? My female 32 older sister, female 47, has always been a little mean-spirited, but everyone in my family has appeased her due to our parents, especially our mother. No matter what she has done, our mother will make excuses for her. Yesterday, she took it to another level. She recently separated because of her shenanigans, and my mother pressured me to allow her and her children, 3 female, 5 male, 8 male, 11 female, and 13 male, to stay with me, as my other siblings, female 25, 30 male, 37 female, and male 43, wouldn't take her in. They all made excuses. that they have family and I don't have a partner, so it makes sense that I put up with her. I agreed, but told her that no matter what happened in the past, I wouldn't put up with her behavior anymore. This is my newly bought house, and I expected them all to behave and follow house rules. No sneaking around and going through cupboards, and no taking food which is labeled as high meal prep for work. No reading diaries, as she has done this on several occasions when we lived together as children and when we house shared. Or going on my devices without prior permission. A laptop is available for guest use. And no borrowing my clothes. She had stayed with me for a month and managed to break all rules. When confronted, her go-to answer is, "So what? It's only a diary/dress/some food. You can make more," and so on. Her children have also broken a few of my things. And every time, my mother has convinced me to make her stay due to her situation, and that the children are just children. Yesterday, I had a work party at my place, and I am a private person, so don't discuss my private life with anyone. It's usually a high and bye for me. My team leader convinced me to have the party at my place in return for reimbursement. Strike one was her coming down before the party and wearing the dress I had chosen for the party. But due to her being a size 12, she ripped it in the sides as I'm size 8. I didn't want to ruin the party, so I told her to quit her BS and put on a different dress. She mingled with my guests and told several embarrassing stories. Quite a few made-up ones too. I tried to keep my cool. Her youngest was also at a party, despite our agreement that she had to put her to bed early. She puked on one of the managers who took it in stride and said she was only a baby, these things happen. At a meal, my sister called for attention by tapping her champagne glass. This is when crap hit the fan. She started reading out loud from my diary. Pages with things I haven't shared with my closest friends, never mind coworkers. She got about half a page down before I grabbed her and took her to the door and threw her out. I also grabbed her children and chucked them out. Then I went upstairs and grabbed what I could of hers and threw it out the second floor window. There was no going back from that, and my guests made their excuses. This morning, my mother left me some choice words on my answer phone, and my older brother is angry, as he has to put up with her until they can convince me to take her back, as my mother said. My sister left me 10+ messages on how disrespectful I was. I have taken the week off work, but can't see how I can return ever again. Am I the a-hole for not being patient with her during her grieving moment in life? Now for the comments. WTF. Tell your whole family to go screw themselves and change your locks. And all passwords. She had probably snooped through everything you own. Please lock down your bank accounts and credit. Don't let her run you off from your work. She is a monster, but I guarantee you, your coworkers all know at least one person like her. They can relate. Give them a chance to show you some compassion. Wait, I thought she separated because her shenanigans were too much for her partner, and now it's grieving? Also, your older brother has no right to be even angry at you. Why even? Why can't your mother not take in the sister? Anyway, not the a-hole. She crossed the line in telling others something that was private when she was not even part of the party. Eldest sister should be ashamed on her behavior. What even was the purpose? To embarrass and to humiliate you with stuff that may or may not be true? They, sister and kids, have broken all your rules. So that's that. My mother calls it grieving, and she left many messages with the youngest niece crying in the background. As she said, it's my fault. They're homeless in their hour of need. She wants me to step up as their aunt, as their father has made their mother grieve due to the separation. My mother won't take her in, as her children are too young and she suffers from high blood pressure. She says she can't do it full time. She left a message asking if I really want her to die of high blood pressure, instead of looking after my nephews and nieces. Last story. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my sister's wedding after finding out why my son was excluded? My sister, 30 female, got married yesterday. I, 32 male, was so happy for her and agreed to help her out. She told me that the wedding was child-free, which I understand, so I asked my best friend if there was any way he could watch my son, and he agreed. I arrived at the wedding and found that it was not child-free. There were probably 15 children there. I was confused, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I waited until my sister came over to me and I asked her what the deal was. What she told me broke my heart, and I don't know how I can look at her the same way again. She confessed that my son, 12 male, was excluded because he has an amputated leg. She said that it would draw attention to him at the wedding. I almost lost it. I could understand if he was going to be disruptive or something, but because of that, I didn't trust myself in that moment. So I just walked out and went home. When I got home, my son asked me why I was back so early. So I made up some excuse and then spent the rest of the day having fun with him because it was the only thing keeping me sane. Since then, I've been getting dozens of messages from people saying how me leaving caused my sister to start crying, but I honestly don't care right now. I'm a mess. I'm a single dad, so I don't have someone to help me right now. But these messages are actually making me wonder if I am the a-hole. You are an amazing dad for walking out not saying anything. I would have absolutely lost it at her selfish behavior. Her crying is her guilt, nothing more, nothing less. She ruined not only her wedding day, but any respect I guess you had for her. If they ask why you walked, let them know what type of person they are there to support and make memories with, not the a-hole. Thank you. I felt that I needed to just leave for my own safety. I've dealt with so much crap from other people about my son. I couldn't deal with it coming from my family. I might tell them, but I can't talk to any of them right now. I've got nothing, but you are definitely not the a-hole. Karma got her back. Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm just sad because none of this had to have happened. It didn't have to happen, but it's also not your fault. Your sister is to blame. You did nothing wrong, and you stood up for your son, and that is what matters. The rug has been pulled out from under you, and you are going to start experiencing grief, if you haven't already. I'm sorry you are going through this. Don't let the messages pleading on your sister's behalf sway you. Either they do not know the full story, or they are monsters like her. You are a good father. I bet you don't hear it enough, but you are. Hang in there.